Hi, I'm Keiko, the instructor of presentation skills for researchers. In the last lesson, we talked about the importance of summarizing your points in the conclusion. Today, I'm going to talk about summarizing your points halfway through a presentation. You might wonder, why summarize in the middle of your talk? Well, think about it. As the presenter, you want your audience to follow you. You want them to understand your points, right? Oftentimes, the audience has to understand the first part of the presentation in order to understand the second part of the presentation. Then it makes sense to summarize your key points halfway through or at the end of each subsection to make sure that everyone is with you and that they understand what you've been talking about before moving on. When you summarize your points halfway through, there are some phrases that you can use to signal that you're giving a summary in the middle. You can say, before I move on, I'd like to recap the main points I've discussed so far. Let me briefly summarize the points I've made so far. So far, I've talked about we've discussed to sum up or recap the key points in the first section. So these are for example, you might say, let me briefly summarize the points I've made so far. First, it's better to start taking measures for your allergies before the symptoms appear. Second, there are many home remedies you can try. And third, you will need to find what works best for you through trial and error. Or you might want to keep it simple and just say the main topic of your talk so far. Like, so far we've discussed how allergies work. Or, so these are the symptoms of seasonal allergies. How much details you should give depends on how complicated the subject has been and how much review you think your audience needs before moving on. Usually, I ask you to watch a video so I can show you an example of how a particular technique is used. Today, we're going to do something different. You're going to read a script of a speech that the First Lady, Michelle Obama, gave about her conversations with young Native Americans. Read through the script and see if you can spot the lexical phrases she used to signal a halfway summary. And notice what kind of effect this summary has. In other words, how does this halfway summary help the audience? We will go over the answers after you finish this task. What did you think of the speech? As you probably know, Michelle Obama gives great inspirational speeches. It's easy enough to find her speech videos on YouTube or transcripts on the internet. I would highly recommend you watch her speeches and study the language she uses to learn how to give an effective speech. Now back to the focus of today's lesson. What is the lexical phrase Michelle Obama used in her speech that signals a midway summary? After telling some stories that young people in a Native community shared with her, she said, so these are the challenges these kids are facing. This is the landscape of their lives. The lexical phrases she used are, so these are the, and she paraphrased it saying, This is the. Now, what does this summary do? How does this help the audience? How did it help you? First, this lets the audience know that's what they've been hearing. These sentences help label the section she's about to conclude. And second, it gives a sense of closure to the section and gets the audience ready for the next section of the speech. So it adds a nice transition. In fact, after these statements, Michelle Obama went on to talk about how the young people bravely faced their challenges and fought for a better future. The halfway summary signaled the change of topics and tones. To recap, if you want to make sure that you don't lose your audience, that they're with you throughout your speech, add a summary in the middle of your speech, not just at the end. It may just be a simple sentence or two, but it will make a big difference in the comprehension level of your audience. And when they understand what you've been talking about, it's easier to keep them engaged throughout your speech and to eventually convince them at the end. Thank you for watching the video. As always, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or requests. See you next time!